Hey, thank you so much for dropping the comment here, Q1313. I really do appreciate that. The best way I would describe it is, let's think for a second, going back to gold and using a gold standard. We're going to start there as a foundation, then we'll add on top of it. So way back when, people were exchanging using the barter system. They would exchange apples for oranges, apples for cars, apples for whatever. And people eventually decided, you know what, it's not really efficient for us to trade our goods and services. We should have some sort of third-party product, third-party commodity that we can use as a medium of exchange. So that way, I know that my apples are $2 and your bananas are $2, and we'll just use dollars to exchange. Now, as a part of the exchange, you have to have something that's not corrodable, not corrosive, something that's not going to degrade, something that's easily transportable, and a few other factors that make money really what money is. Money, the paper currency that we're using, was backed at some point by gold, so you could take your money, go to the bank and say, you know what, I want to exchange this paper dollar bill for an actual gold bar, gold coin. It was backed. There was some sort of relationship there. In 1971, the United States, as many other countries eventually did, they all got off of a gold standard, and so the only money or currency, the only third party we were using was this paper currency that the government is issuing. Now, the point of Bitcoin is to go back to a standard, to what's called a hard currency, where there is a set amount of units in this medium of exchange. So if there's only so much money, dollar bills, or currency to go around, it makes the currency harder. It makes it harder to duplicate, to replicate, to counterfeit. And the idea of Bitcoin is, let's try to go back to a standard where we can actually have a ledger, an account, an audit, so that everybody knows how much money is floating around there, and the ledger can be viewed by all. So the point is to go back to a hard currency, and as some would argue, to get away from government tyranny, which is creating, manipulating, and over time devaluing the actual dollars that we have. Now, will Bitcoin replace actual money as that medium of exchange? There's a lot of different theories that are out there. I think a lot of people hope that it will someday, but there is some delay in the actual transaction taking place. I believe it's 10 minutes for every block that gets created. And a block is just a list of all of the different transactions that take place on the ledger so that everybody can see, and it's saved inside of this block. Using the Lightning Network, or what's called Layer 2, that's built upon the first foundation, the first coding, you can call it, of Bitcoin to make Bitcoin be used on a much quicker, broader scale. So for today's purposes, what people buy Bitcoin for versus 100 years from now, what people buy Bitcoin for probably will be a different reason. In today, 2024, the purpose or why people buy Bitcoin, I would argue, is that governments around the world are increasing the units or the amount of currency or money that's floating around out there. In fact, there's more debt in the world than there's actually assets. If everybody sold everything, we would all still financially be enslaved to the banks. So the point of Bitcoin is to try to have an asset that keeps up with this devaluing, or what some people call inflation, to keep up with this inflation, and over time, hopefully you can rise up above the devaluation so well that now you are on the opposite side of the financial spectrum. So you'll see a much larger adoption in third world countries using cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, because their currency is not able to hold value nearly as well as other first world countries, and the currency of these countries can't hold a candle to the exchange that they get, let's say, against the United States dollar. When it comes to quantum computing, that's a great question. I haven't gone too deep into that. I've heard some different points of view. I would say if quantum computing comes around, I would guess that the miners who are protecting the Bitcoin ledger and the Bitcoin system would use the same type of computing as those who are trying to hack it. So I would argue that maybe the same type of technology is used to protect it as it is to attack. And then the other issue I would argue, and I'll have to do a follow-up on this Q1313, is that in order to attack the Bitcoin system, you have to have 51% or more of the Bitcoin miners that are out there. So these miners are the ones that create or mine the Bitcoin, and then all the other miners will validate or confirm that that first miner has now created or mined the Bitcoin. Now, the other argument would be if someone's going to try and attack the Bitcoin exchange, or the Bitcoin ledger or network, I should say, then you have to have a significant amount of money to purchase all of these miners and to have the electricity to try to attack the system, that in order for the system to go to zero, because if you attacked it and it went to zero, there would be no need or no interest for people to purchase Bitcoin. I don't believe there's a financial incentive to attack the network, because if there is a double ledger, where it's a double count, I should say, of Bitcoin, then if everybody found out about this, the value would then go to zero. So you'd invest all this time, energy, effort, money into something that would be completely worthless. I would have a hard time thinking that somebody would try to do that. But maybe, of course, people would. But you would have to have a significant amount of money. There are all sorts of different articles out there when it comes to what is Bitcoin, how does it work, who owns it, how do you get it, how do you mine it, what the basics are. And there is a ton of resources and information out there. Personally, I think hope.com is probably the best collection of Bitcoin information or Bitcoin videos that's out there. So if you were really going to go down the rabbit hole and understand what is hard money, what is Bitcoin, what's a digital or a scarce resource, really check out hope.com. I think Michael Saylor's done a great job categorizing and collecting all the information here. Q1313, I hope this was helpful. I hope this was able to answer the questions that you had. Again, thank you for the question. And if others who are listening have other questions here, drop them in the comment section below. If you like what you saw, make sure to like button below, subscribe if you want to see more content, and hit the bell notification to be notified every time I upload content. And as always, stay inquisitive, stay informed, and stay subscribed for more. We'll see you next time.